You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly. You have successfully joined the webcast. Please stand by. The meeting will begin shortly.
All right. Well, as I was saying, good morning, everybody. We're going to just wait one more minute for one more board member, who I believe is in the building, and then we'll get started.
Oh, shaking over there.
I should have given it to you.
Okay, good. We're going to get going. Good morning, everybody. My name is Kevin Law. We are going. That's what I thought. Okay, all right. Not my bad. My name is Kevin Law, and as chair, I now call to order the meeting of the directors of the New York State Urban Development Corporation, doing business as Empire State Development, for this Thursday, January 18th, 2024. All staff members joining us remotely, please have your phones on mute, and when you do speak, please identify yourself before you begin to speak. The public was given an opportunity to attend today's meeting and provide comments on the agenda items, and I do not see anybody from the public here, and so let the record reflect that. In addition, the public was given an opportunity to comment on all the agenda items by submitting their written comments by noon yesterday, and we'll state for the record that no comments were received from the public regarding any of today's agenda items. As always, the directors have received all the written materials in advance of today's meeting, and of course are free to ask questions at any time during the presentations from staff. At this time, I'll ask the directors whether anybody has any potential conflict of interest with respect to any of the items on the agenda today. Hearing none, we'll move forward on that item. Let's see, before we get to the agenda, I always like to go around the room, and first we'll introduce the board members. I'll go to my right.
Michael Rosen.
John Watt.
Rob Simpson, and just for the record, I do have one item to recuse on, and that's the eco-electric item on the agenda.
6C.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Robert. We will note that for the record at the time we entertain that item. So we got John, Rob, and Michael, and on this side we have
Hope Knight, President CEO.
Hilda Rosario Escher, Director.
Benson Martin, designee DFS.
Okay, great. So I will recognize we have a quorum for today's meeting, and let's go around who's sitting at the table, starting with Goldie.
Hi, good morning. Goldie Wexel, Acting Counsel, ESD.
Felisa Hochgeiser, Director of Compliance, ESD.
Ray Orlando, Chief Financial Officer.
Matt Bray, Treasurer.
Joshua Breitbart, Senior Vice President, Connect All.
John Evan Hornsby, President, Empire State New Market Corporation.
Simone Bethune, Loans and Grants.
Arden Sokolow, EVP Real Estate.
Noah Raymond, Chief of Staff.
Kevin Eunice, COO.
All right. Okay. Well, thank you, staff, for being here today. We are going to go right to the agenda. Normally, the first item is the approval of the minutes of the prior meeting, which we held on December 21st. Given it was a short period of time and holidays in between, those minutes are not ready, and so we will address them at our next meeting. So we'll go right to our President and CEO's report with Hope Knight.
Thank you, Kevin, and good morning, directors. Happy New Year. I hope you all enjoyed the holidays and that your 2024 is off to a good start. With the new year comes the start of a new legislative session, and our team has been working closely with Governor Hochul's administration over the past few months in preparation. Last week, the governor delivered her State of the State address, followed by the executive budget this past Tuesday. In each of these, Governor Hochul put forth her vision for a New York State that is more affordable, more livable, and safer. This morning, I'd like to highlight some of the economic development initiatives from her agenda. The budget proposes $500 million for the new EUV tool at New York Creates to grow and advance New York as a leader in the semiconductor industry. Kevin Eunice explained the importance of this tool and how it will advance the state's efforts at last month's board meeting. This funding is a part of New York's $1 billion investment that will leverage at least $9 billion in private funding and will position our state as home to the nation's most advanced, publicly owned semiconductor research and development infrastructure. To address the state's housing shortage, Governor Hochul has proposed $500 million for New York Rush, or the redevelopment of underutilized sites for housing. This initiative and its associated funding would help state agencies repurpose existing state-owned sites and properties for housing. The governor has also proposed growing our skilled workforce with $200 million for on-ramp, or one network for regional advanced manufacturing partnerships. This would establish 4 workforce development centers throughout upstate New York, a flagship operation in Syracuse, and 3 others awarded competitively. The centers would focus on advanced manufacturing, training, and certifications. They would target providing new opportunities for disadvantaged populations. This initiative will complement the efforts underway through our Office of Strategic Workforce Development. The governor's plans also include an additional $100 million for our Fast New York program designed to support the development of shovel-ready sites. The grants awarded through this program continue to help diversify New York State's economy while catalyzing new investments in businesses, communities, and job creation. The executive budget proposes $50 million for the Restore New York Communities Initiative. This is a very popular program that supports municipal efforts to demolish, rehabilitate, and revitalize surplus and blighted properties. Under Governor Hochul's leadership, Restore New York has been expanded to target disadvantaged and rural communities. The governor has also proposed another round of funding for the Regional Economic Development Council initiative, plus an additional round of the Downtown Revitalization Initiative and the New York Forward program, which are administered by colleagues at the Department of State. These are some of the proposals outlined in Governor Hochul's State of the State and executive budget. They represent a piece of the governor's vision for economic development in New York State, one that invests in key projects and growth industries, promotes new jobs, and supports workforce development programs, and utilizes regionally focused strategies. The next few months will be busy at ESD, but I know our talented team here will rise to meet the challenge. Together, we will focus on efforts on building a stronger, smarter, and more equitable New York State. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hope. And as most of you know, this is the governor's proposal. Now the legislature gets to have their opportunity to chime in on and react and respond. And hopefully by March 31st, the day before the start of the new year, the budget will be in place. But it sounds like ESD will be in business with all our, great programs, REDC, New York Forward, Restore New York, Fast New York, the AI initiative in Albany, and so that's all good news. Do we know yet with the $500 million for the rush, will those monies also be, coming through ESD, or will they be coming through some other agency to help with the underutilized properties that might be used for housing?
I think they're likely to come through ESD. Yeah.
Primarily for us, but then you could see it in the case of another agency that might have a similar use. So it
Right,
could-
so like if SUNY or DOT is disposing of underutilized land, and those sites are gonna get ready for housing, will they control the money that the governor's proposed, or will we control the money and then work with those agencies?
It's likely that we would control and develop guidelines to support.
Got it, but that's still to be
Yeah, to be worked
determined.
out. That's right.
Got it, by the time the budget is adopted. Got it. But still, it seems like over the last 2 years, because the governor has made such a big commitment to housing, ESD is getting more involved every year in some type of the housing, or in some part of the solutions to the housing crisis the state is facing.
That's correct.
So another exciting thing that ESD does, so, or will be doing. Very good. So stay tuned for that. Anybody have any other questions for Hope? No? All right. Well, thank you very much, Hope. We're going to continue with the agenda. First item is a corporate action, and we have Josh Breitbart, our Senior VP for Connect All, who's no stranger, has been here before the board several times, administering another very important initiative of the governor, Connect All, and he's here to discuss some new program guidelines that we need to take some action on. Josh, I'll hand the floor to you.
Thank you, Chair, President Knight, and Directors for the opportunity to bring this item before you today. The Connect All office is bringing guidelines for the Connect All deployment program to the board for approval and authorization to take related actions. As you said, Chair, this is one of 5 signature Connect All grant programs established by the governor and authorized by the legislature to achieve 3 main goals, which are to end the digital divide, support a more robust and competitive internet marketplace, and ensure universal access to high-speed, reliable, and affordable broadband. The board has approved guidelines for 3 of the 5 programs, with one of them in 2 parts, so technically that is 4 guidelines that you've already approved. One is the Digital Equity Program to support New Yorkers' use of the internet to participate in our society, democracy, and economy. The board approved these guidelines in September. The Municipal Infrastructure and Assistance Program, this is the program that's in 2 parts, so that's the Municipal Infrastructure Program and a Regional and Local Assistance Program to invest in public infrastructure and local government capacity to plan and engage in broadband deployment. The board also approved these guidelines in September. The Affordable Housing Connectivity Program, a partnership with New York Homes and Community Renewal to retrofit affordable and public housing with new broadband infrastructure. The board approved the guidelines for this program last April, and we are currently accepting applications under this program. So that is the 3 programs that are up and running. The Connect All deployment program that we are presenting to you today is a 4th program. We have not yet brought forward guidelines for the 5th program, which is Connectivity Innovation, which will encourage new business models and deployment of new technologies to serve underserved urban and rural communities and ensure that New York is a global leader in pioneering future breakthroughs in this industry. I should also note that while it's not a grant program at this stage, Connect All has inherited the work of the Broadband Program Office on expanding cellular coverage, which remains a priority for communities across the state. And lastly, the board has also authorized Connect All to receive and implement funds secured under settlement agreements between the Public Service Commission and various companies. Consistent with those settlement agreements, Connect All is using those funds in alignment with the Connect All deployment program's focus on unserved locations across the state. So 2024 will continue to be a busy year for Connect All, as it is, as you noted, for Empire State Development broadly. Returning to the business at hand today, the guidelines for the Connect All deployment program. The purpose of this program is to provide grants to internet service providers to serve unserved and underserved locations, including homes, businesses, and community institutions that support the use of broadband such as libraries and public computer centers across the state. The program was originally announced by the governor as the Rural Broadband Grant Program and authorized by the legislature under the New York State Wired Act as the Connect All Deployment Program. The primary source of funding for this program is an allocation of $664.6 million from the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. Connect All may also supplement this federal funding with the allocation of New York State funds to meet the goals of the program. The basic structure of the Connect All Deployment Program is defined by the statutory requirements in the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law as implemented through a Notice of Funding Opportunity and related guidance by the National Telecommunications and Information Administration, or NTIA, Division of the Department of Commerce, as well as the statutory requirements in the New York State Wired Act. For the components where ESD has discretion in the implementation of the federal funding, Connect All has gathered public input through more than 70 individual meetings with companies and other industry stakeholders, multiple webinars and issue forums, and a public comment period on a draft framework that garnered nearly 100 comments, which closed December 6th. The draft framework, known as the initial proposal to NTIA, is currently under review by that administration and is also available on our website. We seek the board's approval of these grant program guidelines and authorization to take related action so Connect All can finalize that initial proposal with NTIA and then begin to conduct the grant application and process of making conditional awards, which must be completed within a one-year timeframe as required by NTIA. Connect All will be further required to obtain NTIA, as well as, of course, board approval for these grant awards before dispersing any funds. Based on the federal timelines, we expect that to happen in early 2025, though we continue to look for any opportunity to accelerate that timeline to meet the urgent needs across the state. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions the board may have.
Great, thanks, Josh. About how many service providers are there in New York State, and are they the only ones eligible, or if somebody wanted to try to come into this market from out of state, could they apply for grants as well?
Right, and there, so based on the past program, we had around 36 internet service providers participating. There are more, including many smaller ones in urban areas. So we deal with 50 or 60 different service providers. But we are actively looking to bring in new service providers to the state, and that's part of developing a robust marketplace. And we do see interest from this program, but also from our other programs, and we continue to have those conversations to attract growth within the state from existing providers as well as new market entrants.
Got it. And when do you think you'll be coming to us again with the fifth leg of the program for approval? Sometime later this year?
Definitely later this year. I would say before the middle of the year.
Good. Maybe at that point too, then you could give us an update on the funding so far. Again, how much we got and how much is going out the door so far, and what's projected to go out the door maybe this year or next year.
I'd be happy to do that, Chair.
That'd be great. Thanks. Any other board members have any questions for Josh? Okay, hearing none. I'll move the item. Michael seconds it. We have no comments from the public. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, next up, we have our spotlight presentation, and we have Omar Sanders. He's our regional director for the Southern Tier, and he's going to present an update on what they've been doing up in the Southern Tier. So, Omar, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you, Chairman, and good morning, directors. Happy New Year to all of you. I want to thank you for this opportunity to shine a spotlight on the Southern Tier. For this presentation, what I've prepared is just a quick regional overview. I'll then go into some of the region's major assets. I'll also touch on some of the accomplishments that we've been able to demonstrate over the last several years. I'll then touch on some of the challenges for the region, as well as the strategies that we've developed to address these challenges as part of our strategic plan update. And then I'll conclude with some projects that I think really demonstrates an alignment as to how we're moving forward as a region to grow our regional economy. So next slide.
Omar, we can't hear you.
Oh, apologies. The Southern Tier is a diverse region comprised of 8 contiguous counties. That's Broome, Chemung, Shenango, Delaware, Schuyler, Steuben, Tioga, and Tompkins, with a total area of 6,200 square miles. 5 of these 8 counties border Pennsylvania's northern tier. The Southern Tier has approximately 640,000, has a population of 640,000, which is approximately 3% of New York State's total population. Although a substantial number of persons reside in rural areas and small towns, the region exhibits balance among its 3 major metropolitan areas. That's the Greater Binghamton area, Elmira Corning area, and Ithaca, as measured by population and economic output. The region's 2 major urban centers, Greater Binghamton area and Ithaca, are collectively home to roughly 1/3 of the Southern Tier's population, which is approximately 235,000 people. While the overall regional population declined over the past decade, these urban areas grew. So here you'll see Greater Binghamton grew by 1% and Ithaca by 7%. And I just want to note that when we reference the Greater Binghamton area, what we're really referencing is not only the city of Binghamton, but also the town of Union and the town of Vestal as well. There are 6 key industries that support our regional economy, and you'll see here, there are healthcare, advanced manufacturing, homeland and cybersecurity, agribusiness, and logistics. Below, I provide a list of our key employees and regional partners, which include Corning Incorporated, UHS, and Cornell University, just to name a few. Next slide, please. So one of the Southern Tier's greatest strengths and assets is our network of world-class universities, colleges, and community colleges anchored by Binghamton and Cornell universities. Academic institutions in the region awarded over 18,500 degrees in 2021, 86% of which were bachelor's degrees or higher, and the region's top higher education institutions received over $1.3 billion in funding for research and development each year. Education institutions also play critical roles in supporting startups and providing workforce training, offering opportunities for Southern Tier residents across the region. So collectively, academic institutions bring over 65,000 students in the region per year. And from the regional council perspective, this influx of students is critical to the talent attraction, development, and retention strategy that we've incorporated into our strategic plan update. Next slide, please. So other strengths and assets include the region's emerging innovation ecosystem, which has created significant momentum in recent years, particularly around advanced manufacturing and clean tech. Incubators in the region have launched globally successful companies, and employers continue to innovate and create the technologies of tomorrow. Anchor businesses and talent have helped capture the newest generation of advanced manufacturing, including in the transportation and energy storage industries. The region's architecture sector grew by more than 30% from 2011 to 2021, even as other industries contracted. Other assets include our natural beauty and top cultural amenities, which fuel the local tourism economy and provide recreation opportunities for residents. So as a result of these strategic investment strategies in the region, since its inception, 880 projects have been supported by the Southern Tier Region Economic Development Council. Through these strategic investments, $431 million in public support have leveraged more than $2 billion in private funds for projects throughout the Southern Tier, for a total strategic investment in the region of more than $2.4 billion, and the creation and/or retention of more than 30,000 jobs. Next slide, please. So the Southern Tier is experiencing significant momentum, and last year was no exception. The New Energy New York, a multi-sector partnership catalyzed by $63 million Build Back Better Regional Challenge Award and the $50 million in New York State investment will further power regional innovation in energy storage. The initiative builds on work by the Nobel Prize winner Stanley Whittingham, a longtime member of Binghamton University's faculty and inventor of the first rechargeable lithium-ion battery to address needs in workforce development, the supply chain, innovation, and entrepreneurship support. Adding to the momentum, the Southern Tier received the federal designation as a regional tech hub, a recognition that NENY can drive regional innovation and job creation while strengthening American manufacturing and competitiveness. NENY was one of 31 winners nationally in this exceptionally competitive program. The designation unlocks significant potential for future federal funding, allowing the region and the state to expand on its Build Back Better award and further build out the battery innovation and manufacturing ecosystem. Also, just want to mention that Imperium 3, also known as IM3NY, an independent lithium-ion cell manufacturer that launched out of the Kauffman Southern Tier Incubator, established its first gigafactory in the Southern Tier, creating over 167,000 square feet of manufacturing space and providing as many as 3,000 jobs when it's at full capacity. These state investments are projected to help bring over 10,000 jobs in the region over the next several years. Next slide, please. So here in this slide, I provided some sobering statistics on the critical challenges for the Southern Tier. Outward migration has had an acute impact on the region's labor force, a major challenge as regional employers add jobs and seek to staff up. The Southern Tier labor force has declined at a steeper rate than any other region in the state from 2011 to 2022. The region's population peaked in 1990 and declined by 2.6% from 2000 to 2020. The largest population decline was in adults of prime working age, including those aged between 35 to 45, which you see is a 17% decline. While the state grew by 6.5% and the rest of upstate grew by 1%, population projections show continued growth for all of New York State, but continued shrinkage in the Southern Tier for the next 2 decades. Also, poverty rate is high among non-white residents at roughly 30%, with a 17% working age poverty rate, the highest of any region in the state. Also, housing quality and affordability are concerns across the Southern Tier geographies, income levels, and communities. There is a mismatch between housing supply and demand for units, with limited housing production beyond a few urban centers. Next slide, please. So as part of our strategic plan update, the Southern Tier Region Economic Development Council chose the topic of population attraction, development, and retention, recognizing that we need to have a more aggressive strategy to reverse the population projections for the region by incorporating these 4 strategies that you see here on your screen, which is cultivate Southern Tier communities as unique, desirable, and livable places, retain top-tier talent, train and educated in the region, establish a robust and adaptable workforce by developing new and local talent, and grow the region and fuel talent attraction by supporting future-oriented businesses. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, as an update to our strategic plan, we revamped our region investment pillars that now include 5 pillars that you see here. This will become the region's strategic priorities and operate as a roadmap for future investment. Next slide, please. So here I'll get into some key priority projects. Some of these I'm sure many of you are familiar with, but I think they really capture sort of the direction that we're moving as a region and how they really match up well, I believe, with our strategic plan update and our efforts to grow our population and retain our talent as well as attract talent in the region. Next slide, please. So the first is the Battery New York initiative. I've mentioned this in the previous slide. This is the development of a national hub for battery innovation, manufacturing, and workforce development. This includes the establishment of a demonstration battery cell prototype manufacturing process, which will be the basis of the commercial and manufacturing line for new and advanced battery manufacturing technologies and related workforce and supply chain development. Next slide, please. Here is the Grow New York program. I'm happy that we were able, for the first time this year, to host the Grow New York in the Southern Tier. And just quickly, I want to just thank my counterparts in the Finger Lakes and Central New York for all of their efforts in helping to sort of manage and sort of administer this program. It's very successful, and we certainly look forward to hosting it again next year in Ithaca at the Ithaca Conference Center, which is another project you'll see here. But essentially, Grow New York is an interregional business competition. This program allocates $5 million per year for 3 years for a global food and agriculture business competition that focuses on strengthening the food and agriculture industry cluster in Central New York, the Finger Lakes, and Southern Tier. This is administered by Cornell University and funded through the Upstate Revitalization Initiative. Next slide, please.
Omar, I think we lost you again.
Apologies. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. The next one is the Cayuga Medical Center at Ithaca. Cayuga Medical Center is a Southern Tier Region healthcare provider. They received $2,973,300 in the URI fund to assist in the creation of healthcare learning center to train the region's workforce for in-demand occupations in the healthcare field. Training programs include medical technologists and respiratory therapists, certified nursing assistants, licensed practice nursing in the basic, pediatric, and life support areas. The total investment is $14,866,500. This project is scheduled to be completed in 2025. Next slide, please.
Omar, we've lost you.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, the mic keeps cutting in and out. Apologies. So this is the NextFlex New York node phase 2. In 2016, Empire State Development invested $20 million in the NextFlex phase 1. This initial investment was part of the larger FlexTech alliance spearheaded by the Department of Defense with a goal of developing flexible and printed electronics. NextFlex was one of the 4 manufacturing innovation centers established to develop new technologies for DoD and the Department of Energy. NextFlex focus is the development of flexible hybrid electronic devices for a variety of applications. And phase 1 is nearing a successful conclusion. The phase 2 application will include development in response to COVID-19 pandemic, as well as provide state-of-the-art solutions for other healthcare concerns, energy generation, and aviation. The university is poised to work with developers, manufacturers, and the supply chain in New York State to design, develop, and deliver critical sensing devices. The total investment for this project was $45 million. That was also out of our URI initiative. Next slide, please. And the last project that I wanted to present is the Downtown Ithaca Community Conference Center. This is located in the heart of the downtown Ithaca. This was a project that was in collaboration with Homes and Community Renewal. This is an 11-story mixed-use development that will include 217 units of affordable housing, 350 public parking spaces, retail, and a 39,000 square foot 2-story conference center. The conference center is estimated to serve over 200,000 people annually and generate substantial foot traffic to support businesses in the downtown area of the city, as well as create 60 full-time permanent jobs in the region. Next slide, please. And so at this time, I just wanted to quickly acknowledge the Southern Tier regional team. We are a small but mighty team. We have a really good group of professionals, starting with Janet Maxon, who's the executive assistant, Tammy Kosak, one of our project managers, Carly Creed Herman is our senior project manager, Carrie McKeever, our project manager, Donna Kilmer, the project manager, and Colleen Barton, our senior certification analyst. And they help to manage a lot of the workload in some of these projects that I presented today. So just wanted to quickly give them a shout out. Next slide, please. And with that concludes my presentation. Thank you so much for your time, and I'm happy to take any questions that the board may have.
Great. Well, thank you, Omar. Great report, despite some of the technical difficulties, but we heard every word, so thank you. Hey, a question for you. When you were going through the big concern you have regarding your demographics, have you been able to ascertain, or has somebody been able to ascertain where the people are moving? I know the governor always talks about when people criticize the state and people are fleeing for different states. The statistics show a lot of them are going to New Jersey and Connecticut, not necessarily warmer weather, but up in your neck of the woods, are people heading to other regions of the state, like to Western New York or to the capital region for more job opportunities?
There's a little bit of that, but the vast majority of it, I think people are moving more into warmer states, more in the South Carolinas, things like that. Some of them are moving, with certain job opportunities of companies that maybe maybe relocating outside of the state as well. But that's certainly something that we will continue to dive into as part of our regional strategy to really kind of understand and figure out a way that we can hopefully not only attract talent but retain it as well.
Got it. I've two more questions for you, just to educate me. When you were going through your assets and all your great colleges and universities, I also noticed you have two community colleges, Tompkins, and then I saw SUNY Corning. Is the Corning Community College just for Corning employees, or did SUNY brand that community college with the Corning name?
So it's Corning Community College because based on its location in the city, like in and around the area of the city of Corning. But it's a public college.
Got it. More to do with the community than the name of the company,
Correct.
The big employer.
Correct. Yeah.
And
exactly.
I've been to most parts of the southern tier, and one part I haven't ever been to. I thought you guys had plans for it. I'm just curious, what's going on with Watkins Glen, and does your offices have plans to be helping them there?
Yeah. So Watkins Glen was one of our downtown revitalization initiative winners, and they have done a great job, exemplary in fact, in terms of really leveraging those dollars and really using it as a way to lure visitors in that area. Obviously, they have major tourist attractions from the wineries to the lake, and then obviously Watkins Glen International. So we've been working with them quite a bit with their downtown revitalization initiative in terms of their mixed-use development and some of their commercial development. We're also and our co-chair Judy McKinney-Cherry, who leads their economic development team for the county, is very heavily involved in the regional council, and so we continue to work with them, but we're also with all of our rural communities in trying to bring more opportunity into these areas of the region.
Great. Well, it's a beautiful part of the state, and it's great to see all the projects and progress that you're making up there. So congratulations. Rob?
Yeah, just real quick, I just want to say, Omar, congratulations. I really think as someone who works in the Central New York region, we look often at the Southern Tier right now with envy about how you're collectively approaching opportunities in pursuit of federal funding. So Build Back Better, NSF Growth Engines, Tech Hubs, you all have a very good thing going and a good team of partners. And so I just want to acknowledge that and call out that great collaboration. We need more of it around the state.
Great. Thank you. Greatly appreciate that.
Great. Thanks, Rob. Anybody else have any questions for Omar?
Yeah. Do you have any initiatives to keep the students that are graduating from like Binghamton University in that area? I know that in Rochester, the Rochester Chamber of Commerce works with a lot of the universities to make sure that that we keep the students attending those colleges in Rochester.
Yeah, so what I can share with you is that a number of the colleges that I mentioned, or that were part that were on that slide, have quite a bit of programs where they introduce students to opportunities in the region as a way to try to retain students. I will say that we certainly could be doing a better job at that. That's part of why I highlighted that, to demonstrate that more than 65,000 students come through the region a year, and we need to be more aggressive at figuring out how to capture that talent and to retain them in the area. And so one of the things that we did as part of our approach to our strategic plan update, and I built a work group specifically with the college and university presidents. And the goal for this work group would be to collectively address just that, is to figure out how do we not only tap into their marketing efforts and how they sort of promote the region and promote their areas and promote opportunity, but figure out how we can have more of a regional strategy around that and really identify what are some of the needs, or what are some of the things that students are looking for beyond just the jobs, right? So it's more about the quality of life, right? So like for me, I'm from Long Island. So coming from here, Long Island, one of the things that kept me in this area was the fact that I was able to get a job in economic development And then as I started to become more familiar with the area, I started to see a lot of the great assets that the region has to offer. And so here I am. And there are other sort of what I would call success stories like that. And we need to sort of do more of that. And that's part of our strategy. When you saw it, it said amplify the Southern Tier story. Really what we're talking about is how do we, we know that we have a lot of great things to offer, but how do we amplify that message? How do we get it to this student population, to others, as a way to keep them here, and hopefully to continue to grow our population.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, well, Omar, with you and your team, keep up the great work, and thanks for the presentation.
Thank you very much. Take care.
Bye-bye. All right, we're going to continue with the agenda. We're going to now go to the regional project section. We're going to start, as always, with Western New York, and we have Paul Tronalone, our VP for Planning and Policy in Western New York, on the phone.
Good morning, Chairman Law. Good morning, directors. For your consideration this morning, the directors are asked to approve a general project plan and make an environmental determination to allow for a capital grant of $24 million towards a $30 million initiative in the Michigan Street African American Heritage Corridor, a state-designated corridor in East Buffalo that contains several anchor institutions that celebrate African American history and culture. ESD has been involved in the corridor since 2019 as part of our East Side Corridor's Economic Development Fund, when we provided stabilization grants to some of the anchor institutions and funded a public process to develop a long-term strategic action plan, which was completed in February of 2022. The funds under this grant, which are part of the Governor's Regional Revitalization Partnership with philanthropic organizations and the City of Buffalo, would be used for a series of sub-projects over the next 5 years to start to implement the recommendations in that strategic plan. These would include additional enhancements at the anchor institutions, a full fit-out of a visitor hub facility, a new outdoor event space, a fund for public art and interpretive features, and a strategic property acquisition fund. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
All right, well, thank you, Paul. Any board members have any questions? No? We got all the materials on this. We've been briefed on it before. We do not have any comments from the public, so I will move this. Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you. Paul.
Thank you.
All right, next we'll move over to Central New York. Patricia Bailey. Patricia's our VP and Director, Entertainment and New Media Development.
Hi, thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, and good morning, directors. For this project, the directors are being asked to approve a New York Entertainment Workforce Diversity Grant of $499,776 to be used for the cost of job training for underserved, underemployed adults for careers in the film and television industry. The WCNY Entertainment Academy is a program that recruits, trains, and creates pathways for job placement in partnerships with unions, including IATSE Local 52. On December 21st, 2023, the program graduated 14 students in its first of 3 cohorts. Each cohort is 14 weeks long, and with the second cohort starting last week on January 11th, 2024, the third cohort is scheduled for this spring. All 3 cohorts will be completed by August 2024. Through the training partnership with IATSE Local 52, the trainees learned under Local 52 instructors, these trainees will gain a path towards union membership and will prepare them for long-term careers, providing sustainable value for the entertainment industry and further attract television film production to the Central New York region. The grant program is funded through the Empire State Entertainment Diversity Job Training Development Fund, which is financed by an allocated percentage from the New York State's Film Tax Credit Program. This is the first board request for payment of this grant program. The Public Broadcasting Council of Central New York, WCNY, is a nonprofit organization located in Syracuse, Onondaga County, providing public media in the public interest to Central New York. Chartered in 1965 as the education station, WCNY focuses on improving education, economic opportunity, and quality of life for people across the region. The total budget for this project is $831,376 to recruit and train 48 trainees in distressed areas in the Syracuse, Central New York area. ESD's participation in this project will be $499,776, which represents 60% of the project total. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Hey, Patricia, what's the total fund for this program, and does ESD disperse all of it?
Yes, so the total fund is always changing. As I said, this is an allocation from the film and tax credit. So it's a 0.5% of the tax credits that are issued to tax credit recipients, usually studios or productions, is then put into this fund. So currently, the balance is about $3.5 million. And this is actually less the amount that we've already committed, which is close to $1 million.
Great, thank you. That was helpful. Do any board members have any questions? We do not have any comments from the public on this. I will move it. Does our man from Syracuse want to second it, Rob?
Yep.
And all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Patricia.
Thank you.
Okay. We have now at the direction of projects with Simone Bethune, our Senior Projects Manager and Coordinator of Projects for Loan and Grants.
Thank you, Chairman Law. As a reminder, at the direction of grants, refer to those commitments listed in the New York State budget that enhance the state's communities through cultural, educational, research and development, and civic organizations. These projects originate from the governor or the New York State Assembly or Senate, and ESD is named to administer the funding. ESD does not select the recipients of funding. Today we are seeking Director's approval of a fiscal year 2023-2024 $750,000 local assistance grant made at the direction of Assemblymember Harry Bronson of the 138th District to United Way of Greater Rochester and the Finger Lakes. United Way serves as the fiscal agent for the Rochester-Monroe Anti-Poverty Initiative, which was formed in 2015 to identify and address the root causes of poverty in Rochester. The initiative works to break the cycle of poverty through grant-making opportunities, programs, and initiatives within Genesee, Livingston, Monroe, Ontario, Wayne, and Wyoming counties. ESD funds will be used to support a three-pronged system to build collaborative capacity within the Rochester-Monroe area to address poverty. United Way has established working groups who will focus on housing, employment, and policy. These groups will meet monthly and create additional subcommittees and events to accomplish goals as needed. In addition, the organization will hire a strategic partner and community engagement manager by early 2024 to lead this work. And funding will be applied to these objectives through April 2026. Thank you. I can take any questions.
Thank you, Simone. Any questions for Simone? No comments from the public either. So I will move it. Benson seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Simone.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have the Office of Strategic Workforce Development with Amber Ranhel. She's our Vice President and Director of Workforce Development.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, Directors. The Directors are being requested to approve the release of funding for the Office of Strategic Workforce Development's Pay for Performance Operating Grant to Rochester, Inc. in the amount of $862,000. The Office of Strategic Workforce Development launched their programs in October 2022 as part of Governor Hochul's $350 million investment in workforce development enacted in the fiscal. OSWD has $150 million in grant funding for two program tracks, one $35 million workforce capital grant program, and a $115 million pay for performance grant program that has an operating grant and the achievement-based capacity building awards that are data and metrics driven. Rochester Works applied for the Pay for Performance Operating Grant through round 2 of the office's grant funding. Based on the recommendation of the office and ESD Commissioner, an incentive proposal was signed agreeing to provide $862,000 in funding. The funding will be used to recruit, train, and place participants in jobs in advanced manufacturing industry. Rochester Works' partner in the project is the Young Adult Manufacturing Training Employment Program, or YAMTEP. Will provide the training and equipment operation, safety, and necessary professional skills. Rochester Works will recruit the program participants targeting historically marginalized communities and provide wraparound services, including transportation and stipends. Through their industry partnerships, YamTap and Rochester Works will work together to place program graduates in manufacturing jobs. We are recommending that the board authorize the release of funds for Rochester Works to carry out this project, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Amber. Any questions for Amber? Hearing none. We have no comments from the public. I will move it. Hope seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Amber. Let's move over to the Empire State New Market Corporation. We have John Evan Hornsby, our president of Empire State New Market Corporation.
Thank you, and good morning all. The New Markets Tax Credit Program was created in 2000 to help encourage private investment in low-income communities by offering federal tax credits in exchange for equity investments into financial intermediaries known as community development entities, or CDEs. CDEs then use the proceeds of those equity investments to make low-interest loans to borrowers located in low-income communities or serving low-income populations. Empire State New Market Corporation, a certified community development entity, is the ESD subsidiary responsible for managing the state's New Markets tax credit effort. The NMTC program is administered by the Department of Treasury's Community Development Financial Institutions Fund. ESNMC has received 4 allocations of federal New Market tax credits from the CDFI fund to date, totaling $180 million, including a $45 million allocation for the 2021 round and a $50 million allocation for the 2022 round. So far, ESNMC has used $29.5 million of the $45 million allocation in connection with the Glow YMCA project in Batavia, the Flanagan Square project in Troy, and the Bogopah project in Brooklyn. Although the ESNMC Board of Directors approves projects for NMTC purposes, the New York State Urban Development Corporation Act requires the ESD Board of Directors to separately determine that any such projects would otherwise be approved by ESD and demonstrate one or more goals detailed in the materials. On December 18, 2023, the ESNMC Board approved an allocation of up to $15 million of federal New Markets tax credits to make qualified low-income community investments to finance the equipment purchases and related costs for Chimilai HY's new manufacturing facility in Olean, New York. Chimilai HY is a new company that will produce fabricated steel for large infrastructure projects such as bridges, industrial facilities, sports stadiums, and commercial buildings, and green energy projects such as Clean Path NY and offshore wind. The company acquired the former Dresser-Rand Siemens Energy industrial facility in Olean in 2022 and will rehab and expand the facility to create a state-of-the-art manufacturing plant. 800 jobs were lost when the plant closed in 2021. This investment will bring back at least 250 jobs. The project contains 13 buildings that total approximately 945,000 square feet of manufacturing plants, office buildings, and storage and testing buildings. Chimilai HY will reopen the shuttered site and renovate and equip the facilities for structural steel fabrication. The total project cost is approximately $54.6 million. ESNMC's investments will finance the purchase of equipment and pay for working capital, inventory, and other non-real estate uses for this project. Detailed project and financing information can be found in the board materials. In addition to approving the allocation of NMTCs for the project, the ESNMC board approved operative documents and all other related steps to consummate the transaction. ESNMC's Project Review Committee and the ESNMC Advisory Board have already recommended the project for investment. The project will comply with all applicable NMTC program requirements. ESD is required to approve the project, and ESNMC will comply with applicable federal tax laws and consummate the transaction. Pursuant to criteria previously established by New York State legislation, ESD selects and prioritizes projects demonstrating certain goals. Based on the anticipated community impacts, the project has been selected as meeting the following goals: creating or retaining jobs in low-income communities and supporting environmentally sustainable outcomes. By adopting the ESNMC General Project Plan, finding the project achieved one or more of the goals, and making all other required findings, including conducting a hearing and environmental review, this project is authorized by the UDC Act. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Well, thank you, John Evan. So I just want to make sure I understand. So we get several allocations from the U.S. Department of Treasury, and then we sub-allocate them to companies like Chimilai.
Correct, yes.
Got it. And it sounds like a really cool project. Has ESD or the Western REDC help them out with any other aspect of the project, or is this the only thing ESD is doing for them?
I think ESD is expected to provide Excelsior tax credits to the project as well. And Cattaraugus County has provided a grant to the project.
Got it. Thank you. Any other board members have any questions? Hearing none, there are no questions from the public, so I will move it. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, John Evan. Let's move over to New York Ventures. We have 5 items. We have 3 presenters. We got to take 5 votes, so let's do presentation, vote, and we'll do 5 different votes that way. So we have with us today Sylvia Codoni, and she's our Assistant VP of New York Ventures.
Thank you, Chairman. So good morning. Today I'm going to ask for 3 investments from the New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund. I will present all those 3, and then my colleagues present other programs. The first one is a request for approval of an investment of up to $650,000 in Cayuga Biotech. Cayuga is a biotech company based in New York City and is developing treatments for hemorrhage and bleeding disorders without increasing the risk of blood clots. Cayuga products will have the potential to treat many preventable deaths and provide an alternative treatment to today's gold standard, which is namely transfusions and surgery. This investment will be used for working capital and for the company's first clinical trial in humans. As part of the due diligence process, the New York Innovation Venture Capital Fund staff and the External Investment Advisory Committee have evaluated the company business plans, growth prospects, as well as the terms of the investment. As a result of that analysis, both the staff and the Investment Advisory Committee agree that the market opportunity and growth potential offered by the company warrants an investment, and we recommend the approval.
And how much is the investment?
$650,000, and the total round is $2 million.
And is this our first investment in this company?
Yes, this is a new company.
Good, and if you could highlight that for your next 2 as well, whether it's first or subsequent. Anybody have any questions? Hearing none, we have no comments from the public on this item. I will move it. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Sylvia, continue.
Perfect, thank you. So we are also asking the directors to approval of an investment of $300,000 in Fesarius Therapeutics. The New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund has previously invested $750,000 in the company, so that would bring us to a total of $1,050,000. Fesarius is a medical device company developing a new dermal template for full skin thickness reconstruction. Full thickness skin loss can happen on burns, trauma, cancer lesions, infections, and some other causes. What happens is that when you lose the full skin, it cannot regrow itself, so we need some other product to put in there and help it out. And the Fesarius technology, Dermosphere, was invented at Weill Cornell at the laboratory of the co-founder, Dr. Jason Spector. And the proceeds of this financing would be also to submit the Dermosphere for FDA clearance and start its commercialization. The evaluation of this investment has followed the same due diligence and advice as the other one, and both the Investment Advisory Committee and the New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund staff recommend its approval. I'll take any questions.
Any questions? No. And we have no questions from the public. So I will move this. Rob seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Sylvia, continue.
So the last one we're asking for an investment is of $500,000 in a $10 million Series A round on Ecolectro. New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund has previously invested another $500,000 in the company, so it would bring us to a total of $1 million. And this company has also received $1.2 million from NYSERDA. Ecolectro is an Ithaca, New York-based company developing a low-cost, high-performance polymers for electrochemical applications. Specifically, the company is developing the polymers right now for the production of green hydrogen, which is one of the new energy sources expected in the future. Ecolectro's technology does not require expensive or rare materials, helping enable a sustainable and economically competitive solution for the production of green hydrogen as a new source of energy. Ecolectro was founded by 2 Cornell graduates and the technology also from Weill Cornell. The company's research and development is in Ithaca and has 19 employees. These proceeds would be used for the generation of the new electrolyzers and complete the pilot manufacturing and building sales and marketing team.
Great. I know there's a lot of excitement about the possibilities of clean hydrogen. Has this company received any grants from NYSERDA as well?
Yes, 1.2 million.
Got it. And we're dovetailing that with an investment.
It's not completely at the same time. The grant was awarded before this present investment, so they still have some going, and we hope that they will get more grants actually because it's such a hot area to develop.
Very good. All right. Well, first I'll let the record reflect that Rob Simpson, a board member, stepped out of the room for this discussion and has recused himself and abstained from participating in this matter. So let the record reflect that. There are no questions from the public, so I will move this. Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries, and let the record reflect the abstention of Rob. Thank you, Sylvia. We have 2 other items in this area, but now we'll go to Ryoko Nozawa. She's our Senior Director of New York Ventures for the next item.
Good morning, directors. Today, I request the directors authorize an investment commitment from State Small Business Credit Initiative, SSBCI, Emerging and Regional Partner Program Fund. To provide a quick summary of the program, the Emerging and Regional Manager Fund Program is a $102 million program using federal SSBCI funding to provide equity investments for venture capital fund managers who invest in high-growth New York State companies. We invest in venture capital funds led by emerging managers or those focused on underserved regions of the state. The managers invest in the SSBCI funds we deploy into high-growth startups alongside private funds. New York Ventures will match up to 25% of the total private funds raised and require at least one private dollar for every SSBCI dollar invested into a single company. New York Ventures staff conducts the due diligence evaluation on each application with several staff members involved. Applications will be reviewed until the funds are exhausted. The program was authorized by the directors on September 15, 2022, and the directors approved investment commitments to 5 fund managers at the previous ESD board meetings. And today we propose making an investment into Human Ventures, a New York City-based venture capital firm, for up to $4 million. And subsequently, New York Ventures will invest the $4 million into several New York State-based startups. Human Ventures invest in early-stage, high-growth companies that address human needs, such as health and wellness, future of workplace, and experience and connectivity. Human Ventures is led by 3 partners, including a female CEO, and the team is raising their 3rd venture fund. Human Ventures was initially established as a venture studio designed to support founders who wanted to turn their ideas into job-creating companies. The firm still excels at supporting young companies and now provides critical capital from its venture fund to help those companies grow. Human Ventures has a strong brand recognition in the New York City venture community, and this is earned through its deep understanding of customer experience as well as its marketing and community building outreach activities. The firm's high visibility helps it attract a solid pipeline of founders to its funds. New York Venture staff conducted due diligence on Human Ventures and concluded that investing in Human Ventures will help build and support the innovation ecosystem in New York City and New York State more broadly. The New York Ventures team recommends the directors authorize an investment in Human Ventures for up to $4 million, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you, Ryoko. Ryoko, either you or Sylvia, just to refresh our recollection, how many different pots of money does New York Ventures get to invest in? Like, so the program Sylvia just walked us through, those are state capital monies, and this are federal monies?
Yes, so a little wrinkle to that. So we have...
There's always a wrinkle, right?
We have three main programs. The New York State Innovation Venture Capital Fund is the one you have seen for many years. And this year, we have $100 million that come from the state in that pocket of money. And this year, we added the $35 billion from the SSBCI money. And then we have two new programs that are from the SSBCI money only. And this is Ryoko's program that she just mentioned, and the next one that will be presented that that we will talk about from Carlene is bringing something on that. That is the emerging community regional partners.
Got it.
So both these two that are only SBCI are indirect investments in that they go to some fund that then invest in companies, while our Innovation Venture Capital Fund is direct investments into companies.
Got it, but do we follow similar investment guidelines or criteria regardless of the source of funds for the investment?
There are some overarching ideas of equity and closing the gaps in venture capital access, whether they are through direct investment or through those other programs. The very specific details are a little different in that, for example, some of the SSBCI programs, they don't allow investment in more than in rounds that are more than 20 million, for example.
Is there an upside for the state when we're investing federal funds if the company succeeds?
Yeah, absolutely. We always recycle the money that comes from these programs, and they're going back to the programs. And of course, we are benefiting that those companies are in the state. Everything, both us and the indirect investments, any investment that goes into companies, those companies need to be based in New York.
Do the feds share in any upside either, or do we get to just share in the upside with the company?
No, we just share according to our equity investment. We get it all. We don't share it back to the feds.
Got it. All right, very good. All right.
It was provided to us as a grant.
I'm sorry?
It was provided to us as a grant, the funding.
Oh, the fund, so the federal funding were a grant to us, and then we use the grant money as an investment, and so if there's an upside, we share in that. Oh, very good. All right, thanks for the re-education, Sylvia. And Ryoko, thank you for the presentation. Do any other board members have any comments or questions? We have no comments from the public, so I will move this. Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you, Ryoko, and thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you.
And now we have Carlene Turner-Beverly, our senior counsel, for the fifth item.
Thank you very much, Chair Law, and good morning, directors. I am presenting on a venture team matter that relates to a legal status designation. Specifically, the directors are asked to approve the designation and recognition of Cornell University as what's called a quote-unquote jurisdiction-sponsored nonprofit entity. This is under the definitional standards set forth in the SSBCI Capital Program Policy Guidelines. You just heard presentations about two of those capital programs. That is the Capital Program Policy Guidelines pertaining to U.S. Treasury's State Small Business Credit Initiative program. By way of background, at the board meeting held on April 20th, 2023, the directors previously authorized an investment of up to $5 million in accelerator and incubator programs managed by Cornell. The authorized investment will utilize federal SSBCI funds dispersed through ESD's Community and Regional Partner Fund program. This program provides managing funds to entities that make equity investments in companies receiving services from accelerators and/or incubators that provide structured programmatic support to New York State entrepreneurs with high growth potential. It's been determined that in order to maximize the catalytic impact of Cornell's deployment of SSBCI funds and to promote maximum benefits for the New York State ecosystem, the partnership with Cornell would be positively furthered by ESD undertaking steps to officially designate Cornell as a jurisdiction-sponsored nonprofit entity partnering with New York State. It bears emphasizing that Cornell does meet the legal definitional requirements for this designation, so this is largely a pro forma action that's being sought for the avoidance of doubt. The applicable definition of a jurisdiction-sponsored nonprofit entity includes nonprofit entities that have been selected by jurisdiction officials, in this case New York State officials, pursuant to specific legislation to pursue public policies on behalf of the jurisdiction's government, and also over which jurisdiction officials exercise some degree of controlling influence over the management of the nonprofit entity, such as, in this case, exercising authority to review and pre-approve SSBCI-funded investments proposed to be made by the nonprofit entity. Cornell satisfies the legal definitional requirements because Cornell is a legislatively created New York nonprofit state and federally recognized charitable educational corporation and higher education institution. In fact, Cornell is New York State's statutorily designated land-grant institution as promulgated way back in 1865. The functional effect of this designation as a jurisdiction-sponsored nonprofit entity for present purposes is that Cornell would be able to reap the benefit of certain special modified conflict of interest provisions in the SSBCI Capital Program Policy Guidelines that allow a jurisdiction-sponsored nonprofit entity to use SSBCI funds for follow-on investments in companies, even if the entity has an existing ownership or voting interest resulting from a prior investment. In the case of Cornell, the university has, in certain instances, licensed technology to early stage companies in exchange for the receipt of equity in those companies based on the licenses. Upon official recognition as a jurisdiction-sponsored nonprofit entity, Cornell would have the ability to consider making follow-on investments of SSBCI funds in such companies where these pre-existing licensing arrangements exist, subject, of course, to ESD review and approval. Accordingly, the directors are asked to approve the designation and recognition of Cornell as a New York State jurisdiction-sponsored nonprofit entity for SSBCI capital program purposes, and are further asked to authorize the taking of related actions. That concludes my oral report, and I'd be happy to address any questions if there are any.
All right, Carlene. Well, after that very thorough presentation, I now know why you were doing this, because when I saw this on the agenda, I was like, why is Carlene making a presentation on the New York Ventures? And it did sound very legal.
We're considering adding, if you enjoyed that, an esoteric section to the board agendas going forward.
Yes. Thank you, Kev, for that. But Carlene, thank you very much. A very good presentation. Do any board members have any other comments or questions for Carlene? Hearing none, we have no comments from the public. So I will move this. Benson seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. Thank you. And last up, we have all our administrative action items. They'll be presented in summary format with one vote for all these items. And we have with us Doug Janice, our senior counsel, to walk us through these 4 items.
Thank you, Chairman Law, and good morning, directors. As a reminder, as the chairman just voted, in order to help streamline your board meetings, we've previously implemented an oral summary presentation process in connection with the administrative actions item of the agenda. So you receive a full set of written descriptive materials for each of the items in your board materials, as you did for this meeting. But rather than having individual oral presentations made on each one, I will provide a brief summary of the items, and at the conclusion of the summary, we can entertain any questions or comments the directors may have. The 4 administrative action items submitted for your consideration today, and for which you have received the written materials, are summarized as follows. Item 7A is relative to an authorization to make statutory payment pursuant to the Electric Generation Facility Cessation Mitigation Program. The board is being asked to approve a payment pursuant to this program to the Barker Central School District in the amount of $1,960,920.34. The payment will offset a reduction in property tax revenue to the school district due to the closure of the Somerset Electric Generating Facility in March 2020. Approval of this payment will bring total disbursements from the fund to approximately $79 million of the $140 million authorized for the program, leaving a program balance of approximately 43% of the authorized funds. Item 7B is relative to the approval of a land bank application from Monroe County. Directors are being asked to approve a land bank application submitted by Monroe County. As a reminder, a land bank is a not-for-profit corporation created by local governments to assist with the problem of vacant, abandoned, and tax-delinquent properties. Per the law creating the land bank program, ESD approval is required before a land bank can be formed. Staff have reviewed the application submitted by Monroe County and believe that a strong case has been made that the land bank will be successful in the community. Item 7C is relative to an authorization to enter into a lease agreement for office space in Buffalo, New York. The directors are being asked to approve a new 10-year lease with Michigan Street Development, LLC, for office space in Buffalo. ESD's Western New York Regional Office and ESD's subsidiary, the Erie Canal Harbor Development Corporation, have been located in the space since 2008. The approval also includes extending the current agreement with the New York State Office of General Services to house the governor's Western New York office in a portion of the leased premises, and approval to enter into an agreement with the Erie County Industrial Development Agency to share space in the building with ESD. And finally, item 7D is relative to authorization to enter into an agreement with New York State Industries for the Disabled, Inc. for document scanning services. The directors are being asked to approve a contract for an amount not to exceed $1,162,500 with New York State Industries for the Disabled, Inc., or NYSID, for document scanning and indexing services. As staff began planning the New York City office relocation, it became apparent that the corporation will lack sufficient storage space to keep its over 7.5 million documents and records in physical form. To resolve this issue, ESD will convert most of its archived physical documents to digital form, making these records more accessible and secure while maintaining adequate space in the new office. NYSID is a New York State approved facilitating agent for preferred source vendors and will partner with CASO Document Management to undertake the scanning and indexing of the documents over the 3-year term. I will now turn it back to our chair, who will call for any questions or comments you may have on any of these items before calling for a vote. We also have item-related staff on the line today as well to take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Hey, for the last item, is it envisioned that our Iron Mountain storage cost will be reduced as we can scan most of our documents and put everything on the cloud someday? Or a similar company do we use?
Chairman, I'd have to ask either Lisa Sutton or Carl Harrison, whoever's on the line, to answer that question for you. I'm not 100% sure on that.
I'm just curious. If they're available, fine. If not, don't worry about it.
I think it's mainly stuff that's in people's offices.
And storage,
storage
downstairs.
Yeah.
Oh, not all of our, old files and stuff. Are we required to keep them for 7 years like lawyers and accountants, or is it something longer?
Yeah, we have a document retention schedule, and we have, hundreds of boxes down in the basement, so a lot of that stuff is going to be
And do we have storage offsite as well?
I don't think
so.
Got it.
I don't think so, just downstairs.
But the goal of this,
When it's all scanned in, we're going to have a big fire.
Big fire.
Do some marshmallows, some s'mores.
Kev, leave it to you. Well, so we're going to end the meeting on marshmallows and s'mores.
Yeah, right.
Very good. All right, well, thank you, Doug. Any board members have any questions on these 4 items? We have no comments from the public on any of them. All of us received the materials on these items previously, so I will move it. Hilda seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. The motion carries. That's our official agenda today. Does any board member have any other item they'd wish to raise at this point? Hearing none. Our next meeting, because there are 5 Thursdays in the month of February, you would never think that is possible, but there are. We're going to be here 4 weeks from today. So February 15th. Deb, does that mean during our Valentine's Day dinner, you're going to bombard us with emails? Or we'll try to get them out the day before? The day before. Just teasing you. Deb, thanks for doing what you do. And so with that, we'll move to adjourn. Michael seconds it. All in favor? Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all, and thank you, staff, for a good, productive meeting.